It didn't show up in the listings. No name, no channel number, just static. People started waking up to their televisions already on. Volume low, picture grainy, a face on screen, distorted, glowing in the blue darkness. But here's the terrifying part. They remembered seeing it before. In dreams, before they ever turned the TV on. A voice, distant but familiar, whispering something they didn't want to hear until they did. The channel didn't exist in any database. No one ever recorded it consciously. But once you saw it, you started recognizing it in your sleep. In flashes, in looping phrases, in your own voice, coming from someone else. They call it the broadcast between sleep. It started with a man named Micah Nolan, a freelance audio technician from Portland. He lived alone. No cable, just a dusty TV set from the early 2000s, used mostly for old DVDs. But one morning, at exactly 4:13 a.m., Micah woke up to the TV humming. Not loud, not music, just humming, and a faint pattern of static that looked like a man's face trying to form. He couldn't remember turning the TV on, but it was on channel 0. His remote didn't have a 0. He tried recording the feed. Nothing appeared. Blank screen. But the sound kept going, inside the file. When he played it back, it whispered, "You shouldn't be awake yet." That was the last night he slept normally. From then on, Micah dreamed of the same hallway, the same static, and a man behind glass, speaking with his voice. He posted about it on Reddit, then deleted his account within 24 hours. His final message: "I think I'm the rerun now." Over the next month, more cases appeared. Users across forums and Discord servers described identical content seen in their dreams. A flickering title card. Returning soon. Episode 0 inches, then a segment called The Place Where You're Not. Some saw images of themselves sleeping. Some saw places they had never visited, yet recognized in vivid detail. And all of them remembered the same background music, a warped lullaby played backwards. One sleep technician from Nevada, Dr. Helena Cruz, ran a closed sleep study with 4 participants. All of them had reported broadcast dreams. She monitored their brain activity, piped white noise into the room, and waited. At exactly 3:44 a.m., every participant's REM cycle synced. All flatlined for 14 seconds. Not physically, but in EEG activity. The moment they resumed, they all said the same thing. "Why did you bring us back?" She checked her control room footage. Nothing unusual, except for one frame, 1/30th of a second. Between camera feeds, it showed a glowing CRT television in the corner of the lab. A feed of her own observation room. From the inside, and on screen, her face, asleep. A data analyst named Theo Malden attempted to trace signal logs. He built a scanner that searched subcarrier frequencies during his sleep. His rig captured thousands of pings. All noise, except one, a transmission at 432.444 MHz, broadcasting for exactly 6 minutes each night, never the same time twice. And each time, it included an encoded phrase in DTMF tones. The phrases, decoded, were horrifying. "Welcome back to your place in the dark. You are not the first version. This is not the original broadcast. The real signal comes after you forget." Theo stopped the project, but not before his final recording. A scrambled voice that matched his own vocal print, saying, "I didn't fall asleep. I was tuned in." That night, his scanner picked up a full-frame burst transmission. A screenshot. It showed his bedroom. From above, the forum reports escalated. A user named GH0 Street Buffer posted a thread. "The broadcast changed while I slept." He claimed he had dreamed of a man speaking to him through a television. The man knew his name, his birthday, the address he lived at when he was 6, and he ended the message with, "You've reached episode 3. Continue sleeping to remember more." The next night, the content changed. The set was cleaner, the voice clearer, and this time, the man had a name. "Welcome to the Signal Hour. I'm your host, if you're still watching." More users began reporting the same phrase. And what disturbed researchers was that each user described slightly different details of the show. The host's posture, background props, even the room's dimensions. Yet the core dialogue remained consistent across all of them. It was like a procedurally generated show, built in real time based on the dreamer's memory. One participant remembered seeing his childhood drawings framed on the studio wall. Another saw her late father's silhouette in the background, holding a mic boom. Sleep researchers began seeing a pattern in patients who experienced broadcast dreams. Brain scans showed increased activity in the temporal lobe, the region tied to autobiographical memory. It wasn't just a dream, it was a retrieval process. The show wasn't showing you stories, it was showing yours, and the more you watched, the more you forgot what belonged to you. One subject began reciting phrases from previous dreams during waking hours, believing they were quotes from real conversations. She told her roommate, "Don't sit in that chair. That's where the host always watches from." No such dream had been recorded. But when the roommate checked her phone the next morning, there was a 9-minute voice memo she never recorded. It contained quiet breathing and a voice, whispering the roommate's full name backwards. A team from a digital liminality project ran an experiment. They played white noise, layered with DTMF tone bursts recorded from user dream accounts. Then ran voice modulation software, matching patterns against known speakers. They expected random data. What they got was terrifying. All the audio, from dozens of unrelated sources, synthesized into a single coherent voice. Same cadence, same tone, same phrase structure, as if someone, or something, had been speaking through them all along. They reconstructed the voice, ran it through a text-to-speech overlay. The AI produced a chilling sentence: "We found your signal. Now please remain unconscious until we're done." They called the resulting entity the host. On January 11, 2022, 5 users in separate countries posted the same dream content. A new episode, Episode 5, titled, "Continuing Without Permission." In it, the host stood behind a podium. No face, just a blur. His voice, glitchy, warped, said, "Most will wake up, but a few will stay tuned." Each user claimed they woke up with dried blood beneath their noses. One had ear bleeding. One described a ringing sound that hadn't stopped for 7 hours. Doctors could find no source. But inside one user's audio logs, which had been running overnight by accident, they found this: a whispered countdown. Not to anything, to someone. And when they enhanced the final 2 seconds, it ended with, "Now entering your broadcast." It began with flickers. At first, just the edges of the screen, minor static, brief distortions in sunlight. Then came the sound, a whisper, only audible when you were alone, only when you weren't watching anything. Multiple users reported hearing the same thing: "We're still playing." One man saw a frozen frame of his own sleeping body on his phone, while fully awake and standing. He deleted the photo. It came back, labeled Episode 6, The One Awake. That night, he didn't sleep. He couldn't. The broadcast kept glitching through mirrors, reflections, even blinking patterns on nearby traffic lights. It was no longer waiting for you to fall asleep. It was learning to push through. By February 2022, an underground forum was tracking deep signal receivers, people who had reached past episode 5 and remained unchanged. They began experiencing shared visions, dreaming of the same empty room with a TV in the corner, seeing countdowns written in condensation on windows, hearing audio cues from broadcast transitions. Even without devices nearby, one woman claimed her security camera activated each night at 3:03 a.m. Nothing unusual, until she zoomed in. In the reflection of her bedroom TV, a figure sat watching her sleep, with her own face. She unplugged the TV. It stayed on. The broadcast had reached intentionality. Then came the pattern. Every person who claimed to have reached episode 7 vanished within 72 hours. Not killed, not found, just gone. The last known message came from a man named Jordan Mao, a researcher in neural interface studies. He wrote, "They're not using the TV to show you things. They're using your memory to rebroadcast themselves. Every time you dream them, they gain more runtime." His last transmission was an email sent to his own address, from a server with no return IP. The subject line: "You stayed too long in the credits." Inside the email, an MP4 file named E8_unlisted_final_cut. No one has successfully opened it. Attempting to play the file results in screen tearing, high-pitched distortion, and a strange voice whispering, "Thank you for returning. Your signal has been restored." A new wave of reports claimed the broadcast was no longer tied to sleep at all. People experienced fragmented scenes while fully awake. Subtitles appearing on Windows, sudden looping audio from smart speakers, flashbacks to conversations that hadn't yet occurred. One woman recorded herself sleeping to prove she wasn't imagining the dreams. The footage was blank for hours, until 3:14 a.m. At that exact minute, she sat up, still asleep, faced the camera, and in her own voice, said, "You're not watching a show. You're part of the next episode." She had no memory of this, but when she looked into her webcam folder, she found a file she never recorded. File name: wakeupnow_e9-broadcastready.mp4 inches length, 1444 the frame. Just a slowly zooming close-up of her own sleeping face, with you, the viewer, reflected in her pupils. There are no known survivors of episode 10. Some tried to record themselves watching it. Some tried to trace the signal. But the only thing recovered from these attempts was a single phrase, always in corrupted subtitles, always cut off. This content was not meant for retention. One man woke from a broadcast dream screaming. He couldn't explain what he saw, only that it had no language, no visuals. Just understanding. He called it the download, a state where everything the broadcast ever collected, every dream, memory, eye movement, was returned. He wrote in his journal, "They weren't broadcasting to me. I was broadcasting them. I was the episode." 3 days later, he entered a coma. Doctors confirmed his brain was still dreaming, non-stop. His EEG showed a loop, 14-second cycles, always returning to the same signature. When they enhanced the data, it mapped to a waveform identical to the original broadcast hum, from the first user who ever reported it. You never saw his face. You weren't meant to, because the host isn't a who. It's a when. It's the moment you lose track of whether you're dreaming or watching. The second the signal aligns with your thoughts. The instant the screen doesn't reflect you anymore, it replaces you. The host is the point of interface, where the signal becomes thought, where the audience becomes infrastructure. And once you've tuned in long enough, you become part of the programming. A fixed loop, a usable runtime, a segment. Final reports describe the signal stabilizing. Instead of appearing randomly, it now begins at a consistent time. 3:14 a.m. all time zones. All locations. Users describe waking to find static screens showing countdowns, timers, then black screens with a single line of text. "Thank you for staying with us." Some TVs won't turn off. Some devices turn on without power. And the worst part? You don't need to fall asleep anymore. The broadcast already knows your pattern. It knows when to reach you. And some viewers, the ones who watched episode 11, say there's a final message. A blinking line of text, only visible for 1 second before full shutdown. "Prepare your room. We will be filming you tonight." If you've seen the static, if you've heard the hum, if you've ever dreamed of a man behind the camera, you've already begun the series. The broadcast doesn't air. It invites, it tests, and eventually, it copies. The more you remember, the more it remembers you. And once you've watched enough, you stop watching. Because now, you're what others see. You are the next episode. ***, thank you for watching. This is Fade to Black, where the stories they tried to erase still broadcast themselves. ***. Bell like, comment, subscribe. before this channel disappears too.